this year has been messy for me. I got sick and breaking my arm, probably biting off a little bit more than I could chew. And a lot of that was because I really struggle with yes versus no.
Part of saying no is really honoring your own boundary and remembering that. The whole idea of no is that it's a whole sentence.
Boundaries are important, but I think for me, it's a big thing about energy because I can do more if I feel energized. I can say yes to more things, but I pick one thing that drains me, and that's affecting all of my other things now.
Welcome to the Triple Triple. 3 women, 3 kids each, who knows why, and a triple shot of unfiltered truth. Here, we talk about all of the things: life, career, family, relationship, and shaping communities. So buckle up, cupcakes, as we take you on a journey of inspiration, creativity, and fun. I'm Sydne Garchick, president and founder of MRK Partners. I have 3 girls, 9, 8, and 5.
My name is Meredith. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at MRK. I have 3 kids. My son is almost 11, and I have boy and girl twins that are 8.
My name is Cathy, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at MRK. I have 3 boys. Their ages are 7, 5, and 1.5.
All right. Hello, everyone. Check in today. We've had a really interesting week and super busy with our entire team here in Los Angeles. And it's filled with meetings. It's super productive, lots of leadership training. And there's always some sort of social event where we all get together and really be in community. And I'm wondering if those really intense couple of days are draining, motivating, exciting. Corporate retreats can be lots of different things. So what's your gut check on how we do ours and how's it making you feel coming out of it?
It's of course draining, and it's a ton of fun at the same time, and it's a ton of energy. I'm typically the party pooper, and I like to be working. I like other people to be working. And so events like this, I'm a little bit more of the resistance that you face when you're planning them. But then I look back, and when we're doing them, everyone has so much fun together with each other. And to see that, and then the next day, they're excited to be there and they put more energy into their work. And it's really cool to see that, to see everybody kind of revive, me, myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that especially when we're all here together, there's this extra connection that we all feel, and we're able to kind of take that connection with us as, ongoing. And then you see, people building additional bonds outside of work, and then that plays into work. So, someone steps up to help someone else or becomes more supportive. And so that is one thing that I really enjoyed. I also actually really love all these people, and it's just so nice to spend time with them and laugh and have fun because we all, again, really enjoy each other's company and really get a chance to spend time with people, telling stories about their personal life and all of those things. So I think I completely agree. Completely draining, so draining. I just need a nap, but also so much fun and brings so much energy.
I find, you guys know, I love getting together for these things, but even more than the social part, I like in-person meetings. And we spend our, 7 hours a day in front of a screen talking to people, and sometimes even people in the office because we're bringing in people from other offices. And so I like the opportunity to sit down in a room with someone and brainstorm an idea. And I feel like it's different. People show up differently. They're also less distracted because they don't typically have their email on the other screen. And so they're fully present for the meeting. And sometimes I think that can move us forward faster when we have those in-person meetings. So I find a lot of value in the meeting, when we are doing work, that I find a lot of value in that piece too. And then the social part is definitely important. And I love seeing that people like each other. And I think you're right. I do think there is an energy boost that comes from that where you actually do get work productivity. I think next week will be an interesting week because people will come back from this kind of excited and a little bit re-energized from the conversations and from the forward planning that we're doing. And I do think that will show up in people's work.
Yeah, I think there's something about being in the same room, to your point, where you can grab someone else's energy and bring that in. A couple times, especially with the time change, I was feeling super tired, but then either Cathy or you or whoever I was meeting with like brought energy. And then I was like, okay, I'm re-energized and I'm invigorated. And we don't get that at all on the screen. It's like very hard to pull that energy in. So
I feel like I could bring energy on the screen. How much coffee have I had? I don't know.
That's a very valid point. I do think it's a lot about just community in general, though, like needing to be in person together, not just at work, but personal lives, like really fostering that community does things.
Well, and people talk a lot about their personal lives and they connect over. And I got to talk to a lot of people about their personal lives, but also you can't help but talk about work, even in a social setting.
Yeah.
And I think what's kind of cool though is that you have people who don't normally talk to each other. They're not in the same department. They do different things. And even if it's a little awkward, it's gone silent, you start talking about work and now they're connecting over work too. And they can carry that forward.
Agreed.
I also think we hire really a lot based on core values.
Right.
And so when you bring everyone together, you really see that shine.
Yeah.
And if we didn't focus on that so much, we might not have the same feeling. But that's a big focus of ours.
I think that's true. And I think for some people that are more remote employees that aren't in our main office, there can be some like awkwardness on screen and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do about that. But then you just sit by yourself in your, home office and you don't know what to do. And so when you come here and you create more of a foundational relationship with someone, that allows for that awkwardness to be less awkward going forward too, which I think is really glad we did it.
I will say my plane thing was
That
amazing.
was actually good. When you texted that you were going rogue, I thought you were going to go in a very different direction. I was very nervous and I panicked. And then you crushed it. Like I was really impressed with that activity and surprised by how well everyone executed it.
So I was thinking about how our theme has been really, lift off, which is fairly plain focused. And so how we're kind of working towards liftoff. And so I thought it would be fun if essentially we, as an entire team, all the individual teams in the greater group became an airplane and essentially worked together to lift off. Who goes in the front of the plane, who's working the controls, who's, handling the things that are needed for the people in the plane, which are our residents, our clients, et cetera. So we did kind of a be the plane exercise and it was super fun and everyone did a really fabulous job.
It was also cool to see though, when a couple people were like, oh, no, I'm that. And then they had to really explain, why do I think I'm this part of the plane and you're a different part of the plane? Yeah. And some were obvious, but some weren't. And it was cool to see how people figured out oh, actually you really more are that space and I'm really over here. It was cool.
Also, people have some weird plane knowledge. Like someone was like, I'm the TCAS. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
I didn't even hear that. What is that?
Yeah, the technical engineering systems management.
That was legal.
Okay. I thought it was just mechanical system.
But someone was like, yeah, this is the TCAS system or something. And I'm like, great.
Okay, yeah.
No, right.
I'll fly with you in the future. On to segment 1, which is life. This is going to be about real tips to make sure that this is your year. And I want to kind of preface this with, for everyone following me on social media, plug for my social media, you've known that this year has been messy for me, from breaking my arm to, I got sick and that was a disaster, and then a ton of travel, and just probably biting off a little bit more than I could chew. This has just been a lot. And a lot of that was because I really struggle with yes versus no. I say yes to a lot of things because, number one, there's momentum around that, and I want to make sure that I'm doing all of the things because that's really important to me. It's also part of my roles and responsibilities within MRK is being out there, talking to people, being the face of things. I teach a class, I do all of this stuff. And so I really want to spend kind of this segment thinking about how we get to define what is a yes for us and what is a no. And I have a couple quotes because a couple years ago I read Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes, which was an amazing book, but she's now put out like a follow-up to that. And it's really interesting because she's being way more intentional about the yeses that she is making. And so I thought that was interesting. So then it kind of took me on like this little journey. So there's a couple other people, and I know I'm old, so I'm putting my glasses on. So Tracy Ellis Ross says self-care is learning to say no. Oprah says that if you don't set boundaries, the rest of the world is telling you what you should be doing, i.e., is this me or an exterior obligation, which you never want to set for yourself? And so I just really think that defining that yes is going to become both a boundary and a strategy for me in this year. And I want us to come up with really tangible ways that people can follow. So here's one to start us off that I really like, which is the regret test. Will I regret saying yes more than I'd regret saying no? So I thought that was one that it's like a good feel about how, we could say yes about something, but I'll throw it to you guys.
Something that I recently heard and that I didn't realize I was doing, and now that I've heard this, I'm like really leaning into it, is it bringing me energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it draining me or is it bringing me energy? And I think I've shaped my life a lot around that, and I didn't even realize it. And if it's draining you, then you have to really think, okay, well, then why am I doing this? I think boundaries are important, but also you have to separate like, what are your responsibilities? And maybe you've signed up for, it's a different yes that is draining you. You think it's one aspect of something, but there's a bigger picture and you are responsible for that. And so therefore you have to check in and do I still want this role or whatever that responsibility was that you signed up for? But I think for me, it's a big thing about energy because I can do more if I feel energized. I can say yes to more things, but I pick one thing that drains me and that's affecting all of my other things now.
That's an interesting point. I have a tendency to say yes to lots of things too. And I think for me, it comes from like a genuine curiosity. Like I like to do things. I like new experiences. I'm an extrovert and I want to be out and I want to be in community with people. Like that gives me energy, to your point.
That triggered what we've had this conversation that made me think more about it.
Right.
What gives you energy does not give me.
Does not give you energy.
I don't like anyone.
Yeah.
Generally.
But that is hard for me. And I have a general desire to actually want to do all of the things. So I rarely say yes. I would argue almost never say yes to things I don't want to do. I'm very good at holding the boundary on that. My problem is I want to do everything. And that is, I think for me, the challenge is to say like, how many plates can I have in the air? And then how do I delegate the ones that I want to participate in, but maybe need some support on, or like learning to say no to things that even I want to do, but maybe don't have capacity to do. And I think the thing for me on the yes and the no is when I say yes, I'm a yes. Like I don't flake. So even if it's like going to a dinner with girlfriends and I'm just tired, if I said I was going to be there, I am showing up. I'm getting my ass there and I'm going. And to your point, like what brings me energy, once I'm there, I will have like all of the joy and the energy and then leave there being like, oh, I needed that. That was really good. But I don't say yes to things I don't want to do. Like if you were like, will you come volunteer to save owls? I would be like, no, I'm not interested in that. Love that for you. Here's $20 for your owl, but I'm not going to like go do the thing. Yeah. So I think I've gotten better about it. It's just that I need to like less things.
For me, sometimes I would look at other people doing things and be like, I should be doing that. And I didn't understand how they could do that because I didn't understand that that thing was giving them energy and not me. Have you ever had that realization where you want to do this, but you can't understand why you can't do it to the same capacity that other people can continue to do it?
I don't know. I'd have to reflect on that. Like I'd have to think about, I don't do a ton of comparing from that perspective. Like, but I think one of the most annoying quotes I've heard about this yes and no is like, well, we all have the same amount of hours as Beyonce, right? Like that whole idea, like Beyonce has 24 hours in a day and what did you accomplish in your day and what did you say yes to and what did she say yes to or whatever. And I don't see that as like a comparison thing. So I don't typically look and say, how do other people accomplish that? It's usually like, to your point, like what is energetically working for me?
I think something that I've also thought about is, so with all the travel, Liza, who's my middle daughter, the 8, has really, really gotten annoyed with me. And she's just, like, why are you traveling so much? You're never home, even though I am home and I'm very present. But I think part of what she's seeing is when I have so much going on and I'm doing so much travel and and very busy. I'm tired. And I think one of the other things that I want to try to think through more is to say, if I'm going to show up as a worse mom, right, because of this, because I'm so tired, because I've overextended myself, then even if it's something I want to do, I need to punt, right? Because I think I have committed to spending a whole lot of time with this other child, right? MRK. And then I also want to be very like quality time with the kids. And so thinking through what I need to feel better, to spend really good time with them and not like drain energy. So maybe she doesn't feel as alone, even though I think she's being dramatic. I think is another lens with which I'll look at that this year.
I think the question, like kind of drilling down a little bit, is this idea that it's like work and family are the two choices. But I don't know, this, my cafeteria table is larger, right? So it's like I have work, I have family, I have friends, I have my own personal stuff, time that I want, I have travel. It's like lots of buckets. And my one girlfriend, she always talks about her husband's bucket or like cup is her. So she's always having to pour into her husband's bucket. And when she can't, she has to say no to that. It's hard.
Yeah.
And so she has all these other buckets. But then sometimes all the buckets make things complicated. And so it's like, I don't know, the idea of like what gives you energy for me, sometimes it's not my kids as an alternative to work. It's time with a girlfriend or going away for the weekend with Barrett or doing something else that is not work or kids.
Sometimes it's removing something too, though, that so I don't typically drink during the day or during the day. For sure. But at night, except for very rare occasions, because it's hard for me to then the next few days keep up with everything, right? Yeah. So by taking that out, I could do more. That's for me. Right. That's an energy thing for me that's specific to me. And to other people, they're just fine. Yeah. But what does energize me is working out. Yeah. So instead of having a glass of wine at night, I now wake up super in the morning and go work out. And I've been able to achieve so much more in my day by making that slight change. I think as we evolve as people and move forward in our lives, some things are just going to be different than they were before. Yeah. And you got to kind of adapt with that.
Yeah. But I do think the cup thing is really interesting. Like, what are the cups? What's the balance of fillage of the cups, right?
Right.
And how does all that work? And what is like the science behind it? And I think I'm hoping in this year, like I can spend more time thinking through that because, yeah, I would say that I am usually nowhere in that list, which is also hard, right? And also if you...
like prioritizing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no cup for Sid.
Right. Yeah. I need a cup. And when you have a cup, right, and really prioritize yourself, then you do have more energy. You have, you're able to say yes, you're able to get through more. So I think that'll be the goal.
If I have one cup, I am not energized by that. That is actually draining to me. Like it's boring. So I think there's also that balance. Like, yes, there's such thing as too many cups too. Right. Or in certain times when all the cups are moving, right? Like, but just one is not enough for me. My mind needs more to keep me energized.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So action items, it sounds like our questions are, does this give you energy?
Yeah.
Does this make you a better parent, partner, spouse, whatever? Will I regret saying yes more than I regret saying no? Does this fill my cup, right? Mm-hmm. Or whatever cup it is. Yeah. Anything else?
There's there's lots of books on like the power of saying no. And one of the other things I think I'd add to like the boundary and calling no a boundary is that you're in control of the boundary. And you learn this a lot in parenting too, but like if you give your child a boundary, but they have to follow it in order for it to work, it doesn't work. Like there's a partnership to the boundary. It's like, no, I will not let you hit, right? And so you can't just be like, don't hit. You have to actually be the person to stop it. And I think part of saying no is really honoring your own boundary and remembering that, and that other people like can't push that boundary and really sticking with it. And that the whole idea of no is that it's a whole sentence.
Yeah.
Like, just no, period.
Right.
End of discussion.
Right.
Yeah. Now it's time for In the News, the rise of digital detox retreats. More travelers are intentionally unplugging on vacation. Trading screen time for serenity. Around the world, hotels and resorts are now encouraging guests to hand over their devices and truly disconnect. Luxury destinations are even offering digital detox programs where staff collect phones at check-in, allowing guests to focus on rest and real connection. In an age where we're always online, switching off has become the new definition of luxury. Did you guys watch this season of White Lotus?
No.
It's exactly this, where they have to give away their phones, their communication for the entire time they're at the resort, and their lives are just going to shit. And one of them is like, one specifically is a work situation that's very, very bad. And he's trying to like sneak around with his phone so the staff can't see him and making phone calls, and everyone's mad at him, including his children. And I can't imagine, and I understand, when I was younger, I did not have a phone. No one had a phone. I get that. But I cannot imagine giving up my phone for an entire time. However, I do think that it does trigger creativity to be separated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess, first of all, I'm not giving my phone to anyone. Like, it's my phone. You're not taking my phone. Sorry. I'm not paying you to take my phone. But I think that it goes back to what we were just talking about with boundaries, right? Like, I think we grew up without them, so we're capable of setting them aside and being okay, right? And I think that if you can't do that, like if you're so tied to your phone that you can't set it aside, then maybe, yeah, you need to go somewhere where you have to give it away and it's not an option. But, you know, when I go on vacation, I'm not giving away my phone. I'm definitely still checking in, like I'm available, but I'm also able to set it aside and take time with the kids, with family, you know, enjoy whatever I'm doing without having it out all the time. So, you know, that's kind of my thought on digital detox is we can create it when we feel like we need it.
I was actually talking to an employee recently about this. But having a conversation around like going on vacation and whether you do work or not. And I was thinking about the last time I went on a vacation where I didn't bring my laptop and actually do work. And that was my honeymoon. Many.
Were there laptops?
Yes, did they exist? Rude. I think we still had Blackberries, so it was like it was pre-iPhone.
You dated yourself with that one.
Yeah, it was pre-iPhone. But we like I did for that week, and it was a weird couple of days. You're also coming off of the high of like the wedding and all of that, but it was the last time I went on a vacation without a laptop, and I do feel like my children have a lot of questions about why we're on vacation and I do work. And that is tricky. I think as they get older, it's harder. When they're babies, it's like no big deal. But as they get older, they ask more questions. But I'm always at war with myself about this because I have a lot of anxiety if I don't do work, and it's mostly work. I can avoid social media or texting my friends. Like I could give that up for a whole week and not worry about it if I'm with Barrett and the kids. But not working gives me angst if I'm not checking in and making sure things are not on fire. But I think it's even true like during the day. Like we just talked recently about reworking our calendars for the next 3 weeks to create capacity, right? And so for me, that is almost a version of digital detox because then I have no meetings. And yes, I'm on my computer, but I'm using my brain to come up with my task, to do thinking work, to do whatever. And so it's the constant fill of time, whether it's like attached to a phone or doing the computer, but it's that every moment is planned. So for me, I can still detox from like social media and whatever and still be around technology, but using it in the way that I want to, which is more leisurely or more creative in my own way. Like even making a flyer with the kids on Canva, like I'm using technology, but there is creativity to it. So I think for me, it's like a little bit of the detox, but more just like less things planned around like that tech schedule and allowing flexibility there.
I just feel like creativity is blocked because you're overwhelmed. And that can be digitally, but it could be so many other things too.
Yeah.
And something digital doesn't necessarily overwhelm you either. So it's not one or the other. But I do think like if you're overwhelmed, you can't find the simple answer to a question. And then all of a sudden, that's why in the shower, you're all of a sudden like, oh yeah, that's what I was going to do. Because you finally got that break.
Right.
But I think it's also interesting, Sid, when you were talking about being able to separate the two, I never really associated social media maybe with addiction. and that we're able to do that. We didn't grow up in it.
Right.
And people who are growing up in it, it might be truly an addiction. They're not able to separate. And then this is very important to them,
Right.
but not the whole phone,
Right.
the pieces that are addicting.
Right.
And it's something with our children that I'm sure we're really going to watch and study.
Right.
We
Yeah.
could go on that whole tangent. We go much further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't grow up with that, but we do. I experience it sometimes where I don't know why I'm clicking on this thing. I don't even really care what it says, but it gives you that little dopamine hit
Yeah.
that you just can't get enough of,
Yeah.
and that I separate from on
Yeah.
vacation. So if I just feel like I'm in a rut of doing that a lot, and I just
Yeah.
need a little break.
Right.
But I'm definitely just more structured on vacation. I check in. I
Right.
do think depending on what your responsibility is, what you do on vacation is different, and
Right.
how you disconnect is a little
Yeah.
different. But I do it at scheduled times. And unless it's an absolute emergency, which maybe I'm at the pool and I don't even know that you're trying to contact me, but I keep it at that schedule for
Yeah.
when I'm allowed to look at it.
Yeah, I do think your point about like feeling overwhelmed is such a good one, because it doesn't matter if you have a phone or don't have a phone. Like, you are not going to be able to get into flow or creative mode or enjoyment with your kids if you're super overwhelmed and like can't bring your brain back. So I do think that it really is a self-control thing. I also think it is interesting because, yeah, I mean, we have no issue just not doing social media for a week, but I am really curious to see what the next generation does. I'm also really curious for our kids, if maybe I'm really just hoping and praying that it becomes less of a thing
I think so.
as our kids who are younger, like mainly 11 and,
Yeah.
and below, are coming into this, because we've seen such negative impacts from it already. But I do think like we are like, yeah, we don't care. We don't need social media, even though it's fun and we like it,
Right.
but it's not something that we, have to have.
There's two things that are interesting about that, like the parenting. If you've read Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, and he talks a lot about this, and there's like a wait till 8th program
Yeah.
that's like wait to give phones to kids until they're 8, wait for social media till the 8th grade,
Yeah.
8th grade, and then you wait for social media until they're 16 or older. And I think that's proving to be really good for kids. And there's lots of parents that are signing on to this pledge, and a lot of schools are doing it, especially here in LA, like banning phones from the classrooms altogether and really trying to take tech out of the classroom. And it's been really helpful to like watch how kids are engaging differently. It's like the community thing we talked about, like when you're in a meeting in real life versus messaging each other online.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hopeful, I'm similar to you. I'm hopeful that the pendulum swings the other direction and the kids are like, why are you on social media? Like, why is that a thing? I don't want everyone to know everything about my life. There's also a tool called Brick. I don't know if you guys have used this, but it's a little, like it's a little plastic square box, and you download an app and you basically tell Brick what apps you want blocked. And so you block, social media apps, you block whatever is distracting you. And then you have to be able to tap the brick to turn it back on. So I got this a couple of months ago, and the brick is at my house. So when I go to leave for work, I brick my phone. So it shuts down all those apps. And then I come to work and I don't get any notifications. They're black. You cannot get on them. So it's unlike the iPhones, like do not disturb, where you can just turn it off. It literally doesn't let you get into the app until you go home and tap your phone back on the brick. Huh. So it's kind of a cool thing for people that are like trying to figure out like, oh, I'm finding that I'm scrolling and I don't want to be, and you're supposed to be at the pool with your kids or wherever it is. It could be work or play or whatever. And then I have it on weekend mode. And so there's like certain apps that get blocked on the weekend and certain ones get blocked during the week. And I think now it's not a big deal, but it was like a helpful training system to lose notifications.
It's a training system.
Yeah,
like
that's
that's
cool.
because I find I've not used Brick, but I find that when I'm using social media a lot, it takes a lot of discipline to stop using it.
Yeah.
And then once I stop using it, I'm in that routine and I just try not to get back on it.
Right.
But I don't get notifications on things like Instagram. Like
Yeah,
you
neither
can
do I,
message me on it and I will not know.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes maybe I come off as rude because I forget about it, but it's really helpful to me.
Yeah.
Also, my 1.5-year-old always plays with my phone now, and he doesn't know it. He's just playing with it. He just likes to hold it and stuff, but he turns on the like personal or do not disturb, and I have no clue. So then I'm like, oh, my sister has sent me like 10 text messages. Oopsies, I'm alive. Like, But it's in some ways it's very nice because then there's other things that I just don't know have been messaged and then they're solved by the time I see them. I'm like, oh,
Right.
I wasn't needed.
Yeah.
That's great.
I do not disturb for a couple hours in the evening, sort of like dinner to bedtime. I'm on do not disturb. I still check my phone sometimes during then, but I don't get any notifications or any phone calls if I'm home with the family during that 2-hour time period. And then I will check back in unless I know there's something I have to pay attention to.
There's I'm sure you know this, the feature of those, you can also allow calls from certain
Yeah.
people to still go
Yeah.
through.
Yep.
Because I do that at night.
Yep.
But if my sister is calling me or my parents or something like that,
Right.
the
You want
call
that
will
to-
go through.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's opportunity to create like a detox or back to boundaries,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like back to boundaries around technology, and you have to like make it work for you. And if you're finding, to your comment earlier, your energy being drained from this and you're not sure why, like create that boundary, put it away. Like I do a social media detox at the beginning of every year till my birthday. So it's like 4.5 months or whatever.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. But I found actually that the longer was better. If I only did it for 2 weeks, it wasn't enough.
So you just don't go on it?
I don't go on social media from New Year's till my birthday in April. And then I found that I would go longer because, to your point, like once you got out of the habit, you didn't need it.
Interesting.
Admittedly, like during some of the recent political stuff, I stayed online because I was getting a lot of news that way. And that was a little trickier, but yeah, I do it from January to April and it does help. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. My bigger thing is just consistency with it rather than a one-time retreat for a week. Like just live your life in this way instead. And that is going to be more beneficial to you.
Moderation is everything.
Yeah, right. Don't wait for it. Like
Yeah.
just continue to live your life that way.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Well, we're wrapping with a quote. The quote this week is by Steve Jobs. It's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. So just tying this quote into someone who had super laser focus on his mission and his vision and what he was building and looping it into our digital detox conversations, and saying no to the phone is sometimes what allows us to have deeper connections and clearer focus. And that's a wrap for today.